What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at one of my favorite features on the GoPro that actually makes the GoPro worth buying. We're looking at hyperlapses on the GoPro. Now if you're using a GoPro, a hyperlapse is essentially known as time warp. That's the term that GoPro has actually given to it, which is actually a really fancy way of saying hyperlapse. Now why I think hyperlapses are extremely essential and why they actually make a GoPro worth buying is because of the algorithm that GoPro has in their feature known as time warp, where GoPro applies not only their famous hyper smooth stabilization, but they also have some special algorithms that understand how fast or slow the activity that you're performing is actually going. Taking all of that into account, they give you a fantastic stabilized hyperlapse, which is something that's a lot better on a GoPro than any other camera from what I've actually used. And the auto speed recognition that the GoPro actually has within the camera makes it extremely special. Furthermore, it has something that we're using right now, which is known as a real-time mode. Real-time mode is basically where you go into a hyperlapse, and from a hyperlapse you can actually tap your screen, come back into real time, which is 30 frames per second, and you can start talking to the camera with audio. For instance, if you're shooting a travel video and if you're showing a transition time lapse and you're going from one place to another, and you see something interesting that you actually want to show people, you can tap your screen, stop, point the camera at your face, talk to the camera, say what you have to, tap the screen again, get back into hyperlapse, continue your transition, and it's a fantastic feature that you can get mega creative with. So now, hyperlapses are not new. They've been in the GoPros for the last 3 generations almost. Hero 7 had hyperlapses and time warps in it. Hero 8 had time warps in it. The GoPro Max has it, and the GoPro Hero 9 has it as well. So in this video, we're using the Hero 9 Black as well as the GoPro Max, which are the 2 GoPros that I have, but it does not matter if you have a GoPro 7 or a GoPro 8. The only thing that's changed is the addition of certain features like real time. Another massive improvement to time warp has been the fact that you can actually go down to half speed, that is slow motion while shooting a time warp. Now the caveat about shooting slow motion while using time warp is you can only do that when you're shooting in 1080. Ideally, I would suggest that you don't, because the GoPro is extremely small as a camera, the sensor is even smaller, and the 1080 that comes out on a GoPro is a lot weaker than the 1080 that comes out on any other camera. So if you can choose 4K, stick to 4K. Real-time mode is still available, which still brings down the footage to a nice cinematic real-time shot, and you can use that instead, and it's still pretty cool. But if you want to shoot 1080 and if you want to shoot slow motion, you have the option, and options are great. Open up your GoPro, get into the time-lapse settings. Once you're at the time-lapse menu, you're going to see 3 options: time warp, time lapse, and night lapse. Today we're focusing mainly on time warp, which is GoPro's version of hyperlapse. Once you get into time warp, you're going to see that I have various settings on my screen. The main settings that I actually use are white balance, digital lenses, and exposure. Once you hit record on the GoPro, you're going to see real time displayed at the bottom of your screen. Hit that, and you're actually going to change over to real time mode immediately. So another phenomenal feature which you have on the GoPro Hero 9 that you don't have on any of the other GoPros is the fact that you can now use the linear lens with horizon leveling, which basically means as long as you don't move the camera or your hand more than 45 degrees, your horizon is going to be leveled at all times. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm moving the camera as I'm talking to you, but my horizon is going to stay as leveled. When you use this feature in a hyperlapse, it doesn't matter how you mount the GoPro, how unstable your mounting is. The hyperlapse that you're going to get on the GoPro if you use this particular lens is going to be crispy, and the stabilization is going to be the best that you can actually get on any camera in the market. So I have a couple of tips for you for when you're shooting really nice hyperlapses. In order to get a kick-ass shot when you're shooting a hyperlapse, you want to do one thing, that is keep your subject in the center of the frame as far as possible. If you do this, you're going to end up with phenomenal hyperlapses. Now you can shoot different kinds of hyperlapses. You can put the subject in the center of the frame and just go in and out of the subject. What you can also do is keep the subject in the center of the frame and try and wrap around. Take a curved motion. Walk really slowly in a curved motion around your subject and try and maintain its position in the center of the frame, and you're going to get a phenomenal shot. I'm going to be putting out a couple of hyperlapses after the talking head part of this video. You're going to be able to see the different kinds of hyperlapses that you can actually shoot. Furthermore, you have an option of choosing the speed at which your GoPro actually records a hyperlapse. So the speed factor of a hyperlapse is something you actually want to play around with. What you want to do is basically go in and choose the different options and see how it works out for you. But a pro tip on that front too is that if you're doing something that's extremely slow or you don't have too much of motion in your shot, choose a lower speed. But if you're doing an activity that's action-packed and has a large amount of movement and it's going to be extremely unstable when you're running around with the camera, choose 15x or 30 30x, which is the highest speed variant. So this is going to be the most stabilized that your footage can actually get. And if you're absolutely confused about what speed to choose, which is 2x, 4x, 5x, 10x, 15x, 30x, what you want to do is leave your GoPro in automatic speed detection. The algorithm is phenomenal at detecting the speed of your motion, and you can just start off with that and start experimenting with the different speeds in due time. Now that we're done with the basics of how you shoot a hyperlapse, and I've shown you what the settings actually look like, we're going to spend the rest of this video showing you different hyperlapses. And if you want to know more about how to shoot time warps, do hit me up in the comment section. Let's get into it.